Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We were talking about, me and some of you guys in the comments were talking about Stonehenge. It was mentioned in one of the other videos, and I kind of asked you guys whether it was worth going. And a lot of you guys said no, that it's not. It's long lines. Um, they have it blocked off, so you're pretty much standing in a long line to see something from a far distance, that there were other things that you could check out. I appreciate the honesty. Um, but maybe we can watch this video about Stonehenge instead. This one is from English Heritage. It is titled Stonehenge 10 Places That Made England with Dan Snow. Obviously, growing up, you learn a lot about Stonehenge. Um, it is absolutely incredible that that it was built at the time it was built, and I don't think anybody still really knows how they did it. Um, but also at the same time, I can absolutely understand why. I don't know that I would want to stand in line to just see it from afar. Some of you guys were saying that you saw it years and years ago when it wasn't blocked off and you could actually go and touch the stones and see them in person. But it's just not really worth it now. But let's go ahead and check this video out. I will link it in the description if you want to check it out yourself. I'll also have links to Patreon, how you can support the channel here on YouTube and become a member, as well as a link to my new channel, DDD Sports Reacts, where all the rugby and cricket and anything else sports related is going to go over there. But let's go ahead and check it out.
If you ask people to list the most famous historic sites in England, there's a good chance they'll start with something prehistoric. Stonehenge, certainly one of the most recognisable, the most famous structures, not just in England, but in the world. Stonehenge has been standing like an eternal guardian, watching over English history for well over 4,000 years. Traditionally, Stonehenge has been the stuff of folklore and legends, created by giants holding hands, the devil himself having a part in it, Arthur, Merlin. But what does modern science and archaeology have to tell us about who built this and why? Stonehenge stands on Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire. There's been a ritual site there for over 5,000 years. One of the earliest phases is this earth bank and ditch dug with antler bones in the Neolithic period or late Stone Age in 3100 BC. After the earth bank and ditches came the epic stones we still see today. These monster uprights here, called sarsens, weigh 25 tons, which is, by the way, considerably more than the blocks used to build the pyramids in Giza. They were dragged from around 20 miles away, and really no one knows for sure exactly how they got them here. But we can be certain it took a lot of manpower. The people who created these monumental structures were reshaping their relationship with nature. And with structures like this, they now have the ability to physically change the landscape around them too. As well as these gigantic sarsens, they have these slightly smaller.
Aren't they too? Aren't they at least this big, maybe bigger, like underneath the surface as well? So I don't know if the ground maybe was lower at one point. Or that's how they did. I don't know, but I remember seeing or reading somewhere that like that they're in the ground just as high or higher than you see.
Smaller stones here, which might look similar, but they're from a very, very different quarry. These so-called blue stones, believe it or not, are from the Preseli Hills in South Wales, 250 kilometres away. How they got here is one of the great mysteries. These gigantic stones weren't just quarried and transported here and then erected. They required a lot of work done to them, a lot of shaping, and that all took place with stone hammers, of which hundreds have been found by archaeologists near this site. Take this one, for example. This is a lintel. This would originally have been right up there on top of that giant sarsen. And you can see this feature here. It's known as a mortise. So they've excavated that out, and that would slot neatly into the little tenon up there, like a Lego brick.
Oh,
You can see an example of it with this one here. And all of that represented hundreds, if not
that's
thousands of hours
crazy.
of labour. And these people had a lot to be getting on with. They had to feed their families, provide shelter. So it just shows how important this task was considered. Neolithic and Bronze Age people put effort and soul into building and reshaping this colossal structure. The sheer magnitude of the time and effort given to this project must have meant that this space was incredibly important. They would have put aside their need to farm or hunt to focus on the construction, and perhaps the very act of building itself was a spiritual process. The creation of group spaces like Stonehenge, where artefacts show varied communities using the site, could mean this time was a period of religious stability and social cohesion. There's so much we don't know about Stonehenge, but one thing we can be pretty certain about is that it was built to be aligned to the solstice. The summer solstice, the sun would rise just on the left-hand side of the heel stone. It would come through that gap, and that early morning sun would flash on the altar stone. Whilst for the winter solstice, the sunset would be just over there, directly opposite. And this use at solstice could be our best clue of just how important Stonehenge was for our ancestors. To find out more, I'm meeting Stonehenge curator Heather Sabir.
Well, it gives you a clue that these people were observing the movements of the sun, probably the moon as well, although it's much harder to track. And they probably had people that we might have called astronomers who might have been observing the length of days. They would have been able to watch the sun set through the giant trilithon that's only half there. And the sun would have been so important to them because these people are farmers. And so the coming of the midsummer and the sunrise, we think, is probably a huge time of celebration.
And what about the winter solstice? Is that equally important?
They probably knew it was like the turning of the year. The days were going to get longer, it was hopefully going to get warmer and their crops would grow. And there's evidence too from the settlement at Darrington Walls, where we think the people who built Stonehenge were living, that they were feasting around the end of what we would call the end of the year in December.
Coming here to Stonehenge highlights how even though our prehistoric ancestors inhabited these spaces over 4,000 years ago, we still have so much in common with them. I think we humans have always sought to come together, to gather, to mark occasions or the passing of time. And we also like to build. We create places to make those times even more special. And Stonehenge is the ultimate example of that. A place that's endured, a place that's now one of the most recognisable sites, not just in England, but in the world.
Yeah, Stonehenge, obviously here back then, that was something we kind of learned about in grade school, and I remember seeing it. had like a babysitter, and she would always watch like stuff like unsolved mysteries and documentaries. So I remember seeing, you know, Stonehenge and a lot of those and different theories and stuff. Um, are there any like, I don't know, things that you guys have been told about it that maybe aren't in the history books of how it came to be or why it was there? You guys will have to let me know in the comments. Um, I mean, it's definitely really cool, but at the same time, like if you, I don't know, I don't know that I would actually, if I have an opportunity to go there. By the way, GoFundMe link to do so to get over to the UK is in the description. But I don't know if I would go just because you guys were saying that there's ropes and you don't really get even close to it. Um, I don't know. I probably wouldn't, even though I think it's really cool. I think it's really interesting to think about. Um, but I feel like I would rather go see a lot of other places that you can actually kind of experience. Um, but yeah, you guys will have to let me know your thoughts on that. Very cool though. It is absolutely one of those remarkable places in the world. Um, yeah, it's something to think about. Something to think about. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you have an awesome day.